Welcome to the CMO panel. I'm Jay Kramer. I'm the organizer of this. If you have any problems with the cast of characters that I invited, I am responsible for this, so I'll take the heat for that. I'm honored to have as moderator George Crump, who's with Verge.io, that just did a keynote and has an incredible background as an analyst before he was CMO of this company. So I'll turn things over to George and we'll get started.
Well, I think we should start with a round of introductions, right? You guys know you're in a marketing session, right? We're not going to talk about NAND level bit rot. Eric, why don't you start us off with, what do you do, sir?
So my name is Eric Herzog. I'm the CMO of Infinidat. Before I was in Infinidat, I was the CMO and the VP of Global Channel Sales for the IBM Storage Division, which is around $7 billion. They don't disclose it, but that's how big they are. And then before that, I was Senior Vice President of Product Management and Product Marketing at EMC for the PowerMax, then the VMAX product line and the VNX line. I was a VP at Maxstore. I was at Seagate for like 2 weeks. And then I've done 8 startups. And one of them is Infinidat is in the process of being acquired, as have been publicly announced, by Lenovo's infrastructure server group.
That was well done. Floyd?
Excuse me, my voice is gone. My name is Floyd Christopherson. I run product marketing at Hammerspace, and I come out of the HPC, and before that, HPC space with 10 years in that space, and then before that in media and entertainment.
Well done. Gary?
One thing Eric didn't say, that he was also CMO at Violin.
That's true.
And
There's probably a reason why he did say that.
yeah, oh, I know.
But thanks for bringing it up. I'm sure he appreciates it.
And actually, I was the CMO at Violin as well. When we
I think everybody's been the CMO at Violin.
Exactly. So we had to get that sold off as well. So it was pretty good. So Gary Ling, I'm Vice President of Portfolio Marketing and Analyst Relations at Hitachi. I won't give you the long sordid story, but I've worked at EMC twice, HPE, SanDisk, a bunch of these different companies leading, and a lot of my history, product management. It's exciting to be here, and anything we can share to help young companies, mature companies in terms of marketing strategy, do's and don'ts, Polaroids, etc. We'll happy to share.
Jyoti?
All right, I'm Jyoti Swarup. I'm the CMO of DDN. I've done the tour of duty similar to these guys, 25 plus years. Been at EMC, Oracle, Veritas, led large global marketing, sales, alliances teams across the board. I started my career, believe it or not, writing COBOL code, if anyone remembers that, on IBM mainframes. And that's what got me into marketing, if you want to know why I moved to marketing.
Well, before we go on, anybody who has not been working at EMC, I just want to get that over with. Oh, well, there you go. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Gokul Satyakama. I am responsible for the unstructured data portfolio at HPE. I have not been at Violin.
Good job.
And I'm John Mal. I'm with Vast Data. I am not a CMO, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn. I run our strategic technology partnerships that encompasses all of our AI partnerships with companies like NVIDIA, but also with a lot of our OEM partners.
All right. To the EMC guys.
Continue. I actually have never worked at a storage company prior to Vast.
Wow.
I've run the table on all things infrastructure, networking, compute, etc. But this is my first go at a storage company. So
I can tell because you have all your hair.
Yeah,
that's why. All right. Have you guys heard of this AI thing? Anybody? It's a big deal. I'm going to go this way back. And I'm reading verbatim here because it's an awesome question. I said, here's my first AI. I'm just going to get right to it. How many people are you going to fire next year because AI makes your marketing more efficient?
I don't think we're firing anybody. It's actually, we run, I mean, we're a late stage growth company. We have about 1,200 people now. We could always use more hands, and AI is just helping us be a little more productive. So I don't know if the bigger companies have a different story, but we're not looking to fire anybody next year.
What do you think is your best use case from a marketing perspective for AI? What do you think is the most best or most interesting?
I mean, we use a lot of it for probably what is most typically thought of, right? From everything from content production. We use it a lot in terms of how we do graphic design, video production, obviously content creation in terms of like copywriting and so forth and so forth. But we're also using it internally. We do have a very lean company, like I said. We use it already there's some embedded tools that we use for process workflow improvements, but those are the basics.
How about you?
So I don't think we are firing anybody. AI has just made us more agile.
Okay.
And what we are using it for mostly around content production, just like they are, as well as streamlining some of the sales pipelines.
Okay.
And so that's where we see the greatest benefit.
What does that look like, streamlining the sales pipeline?
So try to flesh out what customers' use cases are.
Okay.
What are they interested in knowing, and then before you go into a meeting, trying to figure out what type of data people want to consume.
Fair enough. Jason?
Yeah, so I'm not going to tip your toe around that answer. I'm going to say it's informed our hiring decisions. Right?
Okay.
We're not letting go of anyone, but we're just supercharging people that we have.
Good.
Right, which means, I call my marketing team the DeepSeek of marketing because it's a small group of people trying to achieve a lot.
Okay.
Pipeline or dollar value per employee in marketing is the highest it's been in my career.
Okay, good.
Right, we're a 1,200 people company as well with with close to $1 billion in revenue, and that's a pretty, and our marketing team is pretty small for that size, right? So I think to Gokul's point, agility and supercharging your existing resources by leveraging it is the name of the game. It's not about laying people off.
Perfect. Gary?
Yeah, what they said.
Okay.
I think in reality, though, you've seen, as I have, large companies based in Seattle talking about laying off engineers, and certainly the repurposing of code, making people more efficient, get more productivity is certainly where AI has played a lot from, let's call it, downsizing perspective. But I think we always know as marketeers, you're always got tons of stuff to do. It's improved productivity. Got into a big discussion with a customer once saying, oh, well, it's going to make people lazy. Well, it's almost you go back to the days of the calculator. Now, you will remember we had calculators, you were not allowed to bring them in because you need to do it in your head. Now people can bring the equivalent to a supercomputer to school.
Right.
So I think it just makes us more productive. The brain will change in terms of things that we actually do. But again, I think quality of let's say, copy, the repurposing of things. We've all done it in startups, right? You do a webinar, you transcribe it, it turns into 4 blogs, and then you get about 10 media posts of it through Twitter. It really about is, again, reuse, and a lot more efficiency out of the people that you have. So no, we're not downsizing in terms of staffing. They're just now becoming a little more super.
Cool. Floyd?
Well, we're definitely not downsizing. We've nearly doubled the company in the last year, and we're on track to do it again probably in the next year. But we're an earlier stage company than the others up here. We just did Series B. But where we see the benefit of AI just on the internal side is intent, detection of intent. We're not a storage company, although we solve storage problems. We're not a data management company, although we solve data management problems. So we're a Venn diagram of the both. And so as we're looking at intent data, it's very hard to pinpoint that. So on the marketing side, what these guys said in terms of greater productivity and output, but also being able to parse intent data much more accurately so we're not getting false positives. We can more zero in what an MQL looks like. And then on the code side, it just enables us to be much more productive as we build also AI tools into Hammerspace.
Cool. Eric?
So, first of all, I don't believe in the Terminator and Vicky. So I'm a sci-fi guy, and I'll probably be killed by a Terminator when I'm 120. And anyone who's been around supercomputers, I came from IBM. If you think it's a joke, just remember that your iPhone is more powerful in the first 10 generations of a frickin' mainframe. And now you're talking to an AI on a quantum computer, and you don't think it's going to do like weird stuff? I hate to say it, but trust me. I'm the guy, so I'm just the guy.
Okay.
However, we use AI for competitive analysis. We use some of it for the video stuff. We use some for content. But I believe that it's just a tool. Okay? It is a hammer, it's a saw, it's a screwdriver. You got to have the right tool for the right job. And if you think the chainsaw is going to decide what to cut, you're nuts. And if you think the screwdriver is going to be used to hit nails in, then you don't know what you're doing. So it's just another tool, and it's a sophisticated tool. You just have to use it right. So we use it for things like the video stuff. We use it for content creation, but it has to be supervised by a human. So if you chat GPT me at least 6 months ago, what's filled with errors? I went to University of California, Davis, not UC Berkeley, and I don't work at Microsoft, but it said I did, and there is an Eric Herzog who doesn't have my same middle name, but his name is Eric Herzog, works at Microsoft, and ChatGPT came back and said, he said, InfiniDAT used to work at Microsoft and went to UC Berkeley, and that was 6 months ago. And I'm all over the internet, just Google me. Got like 1,000 freaking videos, easy.
And lots of
So you'd
Polaroids.
think it would get it right, but it didn't.
Right.
Right? So that's why it's just a tool. And if you don't use the saw right, okay, the table's messed up, or the tree didn't fall down, right? And if you use the screwdriver to try to hit a nail in, that's not going to work. So it's just a powerful tool that needs to be used right, and I will never lay anyone off because of it, ever.
Okay. All right, so you got a bunch of people. Most of them are kind of leaning in. That one guy in the back there is yawning a little bit, but give them one unique way that you guys are leveraging AI. Because everybody said, I think almost everybody said video creation, content creation. What's something like, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Well, I'm the only guy who said we use it for competitive analysis.
Well, there you go.
So we
I
have
didn't hear
competitive
that.
analysis guys, they're ex-Pure, ex-EMC, ex-Data Domain, high-end. We only sell high-end storage. We don't sell entry or mid-range. We only sell the highest end. Our average sale price is $1 million. Our customers are almost all Global Fortune 500. That's who we sell to. And so we use it for competitive analysis. And I have two guys that used to do competitive analysis at EMC, Pure, Data Domain, NetApp, and they know exactly how to look at the tool and say, that's not true. It says he went to UC Berkeley, went to UC Davis, and that is true. And so we use it heavily for that, and no one else said they were using it for competitive. It's been very good for us for competitive analysis with a human supervisor to make sure that it doesn't say you went to UC Berkeley when you really went to UC Davis.
Yeah.
And they've been very good at that and caught the things that the AI got wrong. But they're also competitive analysis gurus with technical degrees, so they know how to do it. And the AI, they don't use ChatGPT, but the AI helps them do it faster, more efficiently, and gathers all the data for them in one place. And then they can quickly analyze, say, that's not true, that is true, that is. And that's the value that we've used for competitive analysis, which no one else mentioned, but they might be doing it, but no one mentioned it. So that's what we use it for.
That's
very
perfect.
heavily, it works very well for that.
I can tell you as a former analyst, I would 100% echo that, because the hardest thing to write 5 years ago was competitive analysis, because the hardest part was getting the data. Now it's all just brought to you, and you got to, like you said, you got to cipher through it, but you can get there really quickly. Floyd, how about you?
Yeah, no, I would echo that. I mean,
No, it has to be unique. You can't use what he said before.
Well, I'm also echoing it because I don't care. The intent data is key. I mean, what we're talking about really is extending the people, not replacing them.
Yeah.
So, to make our SDRs more capable, we do that. To competitive analysis, sure. I look at AI if I'm thinking about our uses of it, not what we do for customers with it, but our uses of it. I look at it as a very, very fast research assistant.
Mm-hmm.
But just like any research assistant, you got to check their work. I mean, it's already been said. They can go out and very, very rapidly bring you a bunch of crap, or they can come back and you can query that and ask questions and refine it like you would with an intern. Mm-hmm. Get it down to, boil it down to what you need. So certainly it just extends everybody's reach at all levels of the company to be able to do much more with the time that they have.
Okay, cool. Jerry?
I'll give you a raw example. I mean, certainly we use it for competitive analysis because they create pretty cool tables with little icons on it inside ChatGPT.
It loves
But,
emoticons, doesn't it?
It loves the bloody icons, yeah. So one of the things that is always difficult in some of the larger organizations is a lot of data, there's too much. And one of the biggest challenges with any kind of decision or analysis is getting consensus.
Mm-hmm.
And so information's coming from product management, it's coming from engineering, it's coming from marketing, and certainly product marketing, of course everyone's like, well, what's the message? You know, well, shit if I know. You know, what's the product? What's its value? Especially when you're building out a new product. So what Copilot does, it enables you obviously to go run, you know, analysis on all of the data that's existing inside your enterprise. So when you can actually go out and say, right, give me a value proposition and the core differentiators and the competitive advantages of this new concept and write it up for me, bam, you've got it. And literally it's done that a few times for us versus going through 40 slides. Now we've got 50 decks, 40 slides a deck, all of the development documents, and it's now in a pithy, concise, compelling, and accurate because I can trust the data source, which is the biggest problem with AI. You don't know where the data's come from.
Right.
If you don't know the data source, then how can you trust the data output?
Right.
So that's why when you start hearing in storage, where storage is going, data management, you got to have data hygiene. And unless you have data hygiene, garbage in, garbage out. It's an old story.
Yep. Fair enough. Jyoti?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you an example as it relates to DDN. For those of you that don't know DDN, we have our roots in high performance computing, right? Which means we sell into a very specific set of accounts. Right? We're not EMC where every account is a customer, potential customer. And in the world of AI, it's very similar. So what does that mean? That means I have to hyper-personalize my messaging. I can't spray and pray at all. There is no mid-market strategy, there is no SMB strategy, there is only an account-based strategy. And we use AI within our company to hyper-personalize everything from our enablement to messaging to account targeting. We've built about 18 different agents as of yesterday. And this goes back to your first question, George, where you said, oh, are you laying off people? We're just not hiring more people because some of these agents have taken over the automation of the enablement piece. I'll give you a real world example. So generally, by the way, also I have to caveat this with, even though I'm the CMO, sales enablement, sales operations, all of this reports up to me. So I have broader control of things within the company. And within sales enablement, for example, we've created our own in-house ChatGPT, an agent for every rep, right? And these agents get better and better at each vertical that they target. And that's all they do. And because it's their only job and they don't sleep, they get better faster than the humans that used to run that before for me. So that would be an interesting example.
Cool.
Yeah, so I referred to go-to-market and sales strategies, right? So if you don't know HPE, we have a very broad portfolio of products, servers, compute, networking, software, and things of that nature. What's that?
Coffee makers.
Coffee makers, exactly.
Yeah.
Not HPI, HPE.
Okay.
So when you have a broad portfolio of products, one of the, even in storage, data storage, we have partnerships with DDN, VAST, and we have our own products. So when our sales teams go into a customer and then try to figure out or map different use cases and different requirements to the product, they need to figure out which product to lead with. And that's one of the things that AI helps them, is to enable them and bring together necessary data and information of not only about the customer, but also about the product so that they can relate to that end user and that use case.
That was good.
All right.
John?
Gonna bring up the rear.
You got it.
Harder. Actually, I'm gonna give you 3 examples.
Okay. Well, overachieve, John. I mean, that's fine.
So on not so much on our marketing team side, but on our sales team side, we actually had a demo of this back in May at Computex. In fact, Jensen showed a video in his keynote. We've been using this internally to do sales account planning from a strategy perspective for our DMs, our VPs, to look at from a regional perspective where their teams should focus. A lot of that is pulling in a bunch of different data from documents, and our account teams obviously have their own book of documents. We have Salesforce data, et cetera, et cetera. So we've been using that and dog fooding that internally for quite some time now. We also use it not so much again on the sales and marketing side, but as part of our go-to-market. We use it heavily to monitor all of our customer systems, right? And that gives us a whole bunch of intelligence. When are they reaching capacity limits? When are they up for renewals? What is their history? What's their temperature? We give every one of our customers a red, green, yellow kind of automated score based off a whole bunch of data points, right? So a lot of this has been, I know some of these companies have that capability already as well, but you didn't talk about it, so too bad. But we are fueling a lot of that now with smarter algorithms, better intelligence, kind of end to end from the entire life cycle for one of our customers.
Cool. All right. We're not going to talk about AI for the rest of the time. And anybody that uses the words AI or NVIDIA, again, is fired from the panel. I think we can all agree to that. All right. What did one that we decide was good, Bill? Oh, yeah. I like this one. Did you come up with this one right here? Okay. I thought this is a really good one. The first one, this one's good. All right. What is the marketing impact on company culture and brand? We're going to go even odds this time because I don't want to just keep going up and down. So, Floyd, you're going first.
The marketing impact of what?
Do you want me to read the whole question to you? Margaret, what have you done? Oh no. What have you done to have an impact on shaping company culture internally and/or the brand externally, and/or the product strategy messaging? How do you want people internally and externally to think about your company brand? I think you can take any one of those questions that you
Put
want.
that in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's actually a very good question because I alluded to this earlier. Hammerspace is not storage, although we look like storage. Hammerspace is not data management, although we look like data management. And so, whether it comes to targeting customers, determining intent data, and even retraining people who've come predominantly out of the storage industry, the knee-jerk reaction is, we're selling storage, right? Because it looks like storage, it feels like storage. And so what you're doing, especially from a marketing side, but that also permeates down through the culture, from the CEO all the way down to entry-level developers, SDRs, everything, is actually learning how to talk a language that is almost creating a new category. And the convergence with that two-letter acronym that I'm not allowed to say is that traditionally data storage in the enterprise in particular is being thought of as a hierarchical thing. In other words, data comes in at the top and it moves its way down to the bottom. But that two-letter acronym means that it actually needs to be a flat access across them all. And so if you're a storage company, which we're not, you're thinking about, okay, how do I position my storage to be at the optimal point in that cycle? But in Hammerspace, and what we have to train into our culture, into our sales, into our product marketing people, even into the developers, is that, no, you need to think of data as the center, not the infrastructure, data, not the storage. And it's a reshaping of that. And so that manifests itself in marketing by having to educate analysts, by having to educate the media, by having to even get our own people to understand how to tell that story accurately. So we're not only accurately representing what Hammerspace, the product, does, but also more accurately targeting the market segment and the relevance in today's market.
That's pretty good. I forgot to tell you guys, I am keeping score, and you're down in first place.
Oh.
I'm not going to tell anybody what the points are, but you're now in first place.
Oh, I see.
That's good. That was because you said the letters that I'm not allowed to say without saying them. That was your bonus for that.
Oh,
So
cool.
Gary,
Cool.
you're in there. So let's see what you can
I
do.
thought you were skipping.
Oh, you're right. So points for you. You're now in second place. Joking.
Yeah, I think I'll echo some of the things that he said, right? So DDN is a founder-led company, and we have two incredible founders that have, been at this for 27 plus years. Yeah. So it's the challenge for the chief marketing officer is to channel all of that energy, the innovation, and the passion, and the messaging that they have into the company culture and brand without diluting it.
Right.
It's hard. Not everybody has the founder passion, or we'd all be starting companies, right?
Right.
So in terms of the culture and the brand, for us, the challenge is, as CMO, take that messaging, the narrative, become the chief storytelling officer, tell
Right.
the best story you can tell internally, and then they all become marketers for you, whether it's on LinkedIn or on social media. So that's like the first challenge. The second is juxtaposing that with your product capabilities.
Sure.
Right? Like, how do you take, the cultural elements and then juxtapose that with the fact that you have leading products in the market in this space that I'm not allowed to speak about, and distribute that to the broadest, set of categories as possible.
And follow up to that, because Floyd, I'm assuming you guys don't have 1,200 employees,
Nope.
and you guys don't have 1,200 employees.
We have 500.
500. That's a lot of people. I didn't know that, actually.
We'll be 250 by the end of the year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you're bigger than I thought. Well, but 1,200. I think I'm actually giving you a compliment, right? I know it seems weird, but it's happening. But I think with 1,200 people, it's harder. The bigger that gets, that culture, like it's harder to instill passion and stuff like that. And I'm coming after you next. But I got to go, John.
Yeah.
John.
I mean, I think on the culture side, it's the same. And I was employee 120 out of, now we're at 1,200. So it's easy when you have a small circle to pass tribal knowledge around and to kind of keep that Kool-Aid,
Right.
passing around. It's harder when you get bigger. But I think to go back and, can I say artificial intelligence? Is that okay? Instead of saying,
We're going to give you one, and that's it.
instead of those two.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. But you're definitely not in first place now. You
Okay,
definitely,
that's okay,
definitely
that's
have
okay.
slipped.
I'd possibly be disappointed. I think that I can echo a lot of what Floyd said. I mean, I think that the challenge from a branding and a company perspective in this new era of that two-letter acronym is we are all having to create a new category, because there's nothing before this that looked like this moment today. And I know we're at FMS, and we've been talking about this at Vast for a long time, about this kind of single tier to rule them all, right? Kind of collapsing this funnel of storage hierarchy. And I think now with these modern man, it's very hard to not say that two-letter acronym.
That's why I put it out there.
Yeah, but a lot of what we're seeing now is there is a new definition of what storage and what data plays from a role perspective in this new era. It's changing everything from how we think about access patterns and I/O patterns and everything else you can think of, how you handle archive storage to online storage to nearline. All of that is now kind of being thrown out the window, and we have to go on a crusade to educate not only the market but also re-educate a lot of our own employees. Right, our employees are coming from EMC and NetApp and legacy, very established and very successful storage companies, where all of that knowledge and their experience has to be thrown out the window and kind of retooled and retrained. And so we do a lot in terms of enablement. We have this thing we have internally we call Flight School. We put all of our new hires from sales to marketing to R&D through different versions, but through we call Flight School.
Do they wear astronaut costumes?
They get an astronaut pin when they graduate.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's a big thing to kind of help keep that culture and that mind share alive.
Okay, cool. Now, I'm pretty sure, Coco, you guys have a little bit more than 1,200 employees. How do you keep that passion and thing going there?
Yeah, I think we can add all.
You got like 1,200 employees in a zip code, I think, right?
I think we can add all these employees together.
Yeah.
And still have extra.
Yeah.
Yeah. So changing culture is difficult at a very large company.
Yeah.
So if I just boil it down to just the storage organization, the conversation needs to move from storage and storage platforms to data.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we are trying to do within the organization, especially in the storage organization, to talk about data and how data is impactful in this two-letter acronym that we're not supposed to say. So that's the focus from how we are trying to build culture,
Yeah.
is focusing on what's changed and what do we need to be because some people have been there for 25, 30 years, and it's hard for them to change.
Yeah.
Some people are new from other companies. And so that's the cultural shift that we are trying to do.
But how do you do that from a marketing perspective? Is it something that has to be driven from the CEO level? How does it happen?
So there is a CEO level that happens for the broader two-letter acronym kind of thing. But then the next stage is, okay, is it compute, is it networking, or is it storage? And then how does that impact the AI space?
Now you're in third. You dropped, man. You guys are lucky I haven't banned the word acronym either, because you'd be in deep trouble there too. Gary.
Well, if you look,
we're talking about culture and brand, just because we kind of...
Yeah, culture and brand. So Hitachi is 790 companies, $85 billion in revenue. We power 15% of the world's energy. So trying to get
kind of a small company.
Small company.
Yeah.
But, I echo the point around brand, around data, sorry. And, at the end of the day, I think most people around this table have been through some of us are a little gray head, some of us have got the nice black hair and looking very young still. But we've been through all of this. We've been through the Y2K. We've been through the compliance era and the data privacy era, all to get your data act together. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you on the data point. I think one thing that I haven't heard from anyone on the panel yet is when you're trying to inspire the audience, the market, and inspire employees. Simon Sinek, talked about people don't buy what you make, they buy what you believe.
Yeah.
Believe is convincing someone in agreement. But if they have a belief, now you've got their heart. Mm-hmm. Now you've got that EQ, that engagement that they believe in. Mm-hmm. And then they're more likely to remember it, they're more likely to repeat it. No matter how clever a CMO is with a pithy statement, or it's simplicity, security, and sustainability, if it touches your heart, they're going to repeat it. And that's the job of a good CMO for internal motivation and engagement. Whether it's tchotchkes or making people wear orange or red or purple and getting behind certain things, or giving them little things that they attach to their ID badge, which no one ever reads, people need to get behind it. And it really comes back to attaching to real world use cases.
Okay. You surgeon first, you kind of made me cry a little bit right there. With that whole thing with the badge, that was beautiful. Eric, bring us home.
So we didn't have a brand. So we created a brand. We were very aggressive with the press. We were very aggressive with the analyst community. Really, I need a microphone?
Yeah, because the guy with the little recording box will get mad at us.
Okay.
Who left?
I was going to say, I usually can project like 2 rooms 3 times the size. By the way, Gary, I just want you to know this is Southern California bleach blonde. I'm a native-born Californian from Palo Alto, so this is me surfing all the time. So even though we've worked together before, I just want you to know I'm like way younger than you are.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
So we went about establishing a brand by schmoozing the press, the analysts. We've won like 49 awards this year. Things that we never would have thought doing, and while people think that's all F and BS, it's not. It's third-party validation. When people don't know your name, you need air cover. And the sales team wanted air cover, so we provided that. The second thing is we're not a storage company. We're all about applications, workloads, and use cases. And that thing you guys are all talking about, the Terminator, that's just another application. If we were sitting here in 1962, the mainframe. Then we're sitting here in 1979, the laptop, or the PC. Then we're sitting here, probably in the 60s, the database. So that thing you're talking about is just another one of these big giant waves, and it's a fundamental changer, but think it's any different from when the mainframe came out, the guy who used to program COBOL, or when mobile phones came out and you have essentially a mobile phone in your pocket that's more powerful than like generation 10 or 12 of the mainframe. Okay, do you really think my parents are way older than your parents, since I could be almost everyone's dad in this room, but other than that, do your parents really would have thought that you would have the power of a mainframe in your freaking hand? So all this new thing is, which I'm not saying, the Terminator, Skynet, is essentially the next wave of one of these huge compute waves, and sometimes we overblow it way too much.
No.
Yeah, no. So anyway, for us though, instead of being storage guys, it's all about application use cases. I've met with at least 1,000 CIOs over the years because I've been doing this for 40 years, and they hate storage. I've never met, well, you've done this for all, have you ever, George, met a CIO who used to be a storage admin or even a storage director? No.
Yeah.
They hate it.
Yeah.
In the old days, they were mainframe guys. Then when Cisco kind of started making it cool, then it might have been the VP of switching. But after that, it's all been software guys. They hate storage with a passion. By the way, they hate that Terminator with a passion too, by the way. So it's all about how you optimize their workload. Okay, if their Terminator can run in 1 hour instead of 4 hours, you get the PO. Okay, if that Oracle workload runs in 30 minutes instead of 30 hours, you get the PO. If the systems you sell never go down, you get the PO. But they don't care about flash, they don't care about DRAM, they don't care about hard drives, they don't care about RAID, snapshot. All they care about is how do you optimize the application workload and use cases and keep me from getting fired so that the CEO says, why the hell was the website down yesterday? You're freaking fired. Or, by the way, I went through finance and was sitting there, eating and drinking because we couldn't use our Oracle app or SAP app. That's what matters. So application workloads and use case, and we change our whole thinking, and the sales team has been trained to sell up and down the pipe. Don't just talk to the storage geek, not that they don't, but you got to get to the CIO, and the CIO and the CISO when you're talking cyber, and the CTO, who also is never a storage guy, they hate it. So why would you get them to give you $1 million PO? And by the way, we're not the only guys up here where their systems are $1 million. So that's how you get the POs. You got to appeal and speak the right. Anyone who talks to their 50-year-old kid, mine's 35, the way you talk to the kid when they were 30, 15, and 10, and 5, you're nuts. You always play to your audience, and it always changes.
Okay. Well, you're going to move into second place for most effective use of two things: the microphone, because that was intimidating, and then also Terminator. Right? You didn't have to go to the acronym. Also, we're going to let AI back into the conversation because I don't want to see you guys struggle with. Because now I'm going to say, oh well, I'll call it Judy or whatever the. Anyway, Vicky, that's it. I knew it was something.
iRobot.
You are sharp, man. You are really sharp. You're actually in first, just because of that. You're in first now. There you go. All right. Oh, wait. There's more questions. Oh, that's boring. Okay. Which one did we decide next, Bill?
You have the list joint.
Oh, really?
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, I thought you were like
That's why I had
ChatGPT.
to keep Ernst on.
All right, how do you make? I'm totally changing this one a little bit. Hope you don't mind. Okay, because I don't know what that matters. But how do you guys make cost spending decisions on marketing? How do you evaluate? Because I don't know about you guys, but I get like emails every freaking like CMO is like literally the worst title I have because all you do is get emails about how messed up everything in your company is and how they can fix it, usually with AI, right? So how do you, when a new thing comes in, how do you decide that's the thing? And we'll go opposite of everything this time and start with Gary.
So are you really referring to the technology stack? Because that's typically what's...
Yeah, how do you decide, hey, this is a new cool thing that's... So two things. How do you think, hey, this could actually... Is this an... bull? You know what? I'm just me being good so Jay doesn't fire me. And how do you decide what needs you have in that technology stack?
Yeah, I tend to ignore them all. And then yearly look at the technology stack.
Okay.
Listen to what's going on. Otherwise, you'll go nuts. You'll be sitting there being Mr. Evaluator or Miss Evaluator all day long. So I think it's a matter of certainly looking at, again, how do I do more with less? Certainly the automation, certainly some of the tools, using your agency to help, do some of that grunt work. But generally, if you go through and try and, mimic all of those tools, you're going to get nowhere. So just regular cadence of yearly reviewing your stack, looking at efficiencies now to improve it.
Is anybody getting less than 10 emails a day with a new marketing pitch? I'm just wondering, because it's insane. And what I love is you can tell they're using AI because they tried to guess what your company does, and you're like, that's not even close. All right, go. What do you guys, how do you evaluate new technology for the marketing stack, and how do you make an ROI decision?
So I don't control the budget for marketing, but if I did control the budget for
There you
marketing, look, it's eyeballs are great, advertisements are great, but at the end of the day, there's too much information for end users. So the thing I would spend is how do you distill the image, the message from a target perspective and a persona perspective. And I think that's where I would spend a lot of my money or the marketing money, because people have too much information right now, and sometimes you don't know which is real and what's not real, right? And so that's where I would spend the money.
Cool. John?
We work for a CEO who is extremely frugal. I would say two things. One, we measure everything as a result, right? Because when we have to go spend money today, even at 1,200 people, any significant PO gets scrutinized all the way up to the very top. And so we come with a lot of data. This is not just through marketing, but sales. Anywhere you're spending money, R&D, anywhere you're spending money, you get scrutinized. So data, that whole ROI, super, super critical. At the same time, we've had to go back and, there are some tools that we actually had. There's actually one specific tool I'm thinking of, I won't say it out by name, but there's a tool that our team really loved on the marketing side, and it was pretty expensive, right, in the eyes of our CEO. We killed it because we rolled over and told the CEO fine, and we canceled it, and then our whole entire marketing team had to shift and go use something completely wasn't designed for that particular purpose, and it was chaos, right? And so I think at some point you have to listen to your team as well, like at that team level, trust them. If they were almost like going to have a revolt, and we ended up bringing the tool back and wrote a check, right? And got our CEO to brew on just how much inefficiency was introduced by trying to pinch in that particular area. So I don't also control the marketing budget, but I was I experienced that firsthand of going through that myself.
Yeah.
Can you share the name of the tools so these guys can go buy it?
Yeah, actually I can. So we actually use Asana internally from a marketing, everything that's marketing oriented from a program perspective. We use Asana. It's highly integrated.
It is crazy expensive though.
It's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So if anybody's
especially at
listening,
scale.
yeah, and when our team's pretty large now.
They'll just go out and raise more money.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
Jyoti, how about you?
Yeah, so I think I go back to the comment I made earlier on, which is, at DDN we are the DeepSeek of marketing, right? What does that mean? It means we need to understand the ROI of every dollar we're spending. So that's where it comes down to. It's not about which tool you procure, how many people you have. It's about every dollar that I put into market, how much is it giving back? Just as your customer would look at your product, right? Is this tool helping me save money, make money, or reduce risk? It's just one of those three things in my marketing tech stack. So for me, whether it's a campaign that I'm designing from the ground up, or a tool that I'm procuring, or an agency that I'm hiring, I spend a lot of time trying to understand what the ROI could be. I will not be perfect in calculating that ROI on day one, but hey, I'll be 80% of the way there before I commit to that dollar spend, right? So I focus a lot of my energies. I ensure that my immediate leadership focuses their energies before they bring anything to me. Mm-hmm. Hey boss, sign this off, or I have to go to my boss to get something signed off. We've calculated, hey, this is what it's probably going to end up giving us, and this is why we should invest in it. And we recalibrate again the year after, right? We're like, hey, do we have to go back to this event? Did it give us the ROI? Is this tool that we procured, is it continuing to give us the ROI? Mm-hmm. Can we calculate it? And again, that bad word that we can now use.
Yes, I've given you
there are
permission.
tools that at your disposal that will calculate ROI in near real time in some cases. Yeah. Right, all the way from content creation down to your campaigns, your leads converting. So that's what I would look at.
Floyd, I'm going back in order. I can't keep up.
That's fine. I mean, it's already been said, but it bears repeating. Metrics. It's very simple. If you're parsing intent data, how does that convert? If you've got an ABM campaign, how does that convert? What's your signal to noise ratio? If you're doing ad buys, if you're doing any sort of outbound marketing, what's the signal to noise ratio? And especially as I've described how we're kind of a Venn diagram across categories, Are we getting too much noise that is not actionable? If so, that's a very easy solution to parse that and to narrow that down. Is it an event that you've got people that are really invested in, but there's no metrics coming back from it? I'm sorry, the event gets canceled. Or an event that maybe was underperformed or that overperformed based on what we expected. So you've got to be agile, just like with our software development team. You have to have an agile process. It's got to be metrics driven, and you have to just constantly keep your finger on the pulse.
Eric, bring us home.
Quietly.
Metrics, 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 metrics. So since I'm the old guy, I used to be an all-star baseball player here in the Bay Area.
So baseball, surfing, mainframes.
Yeah, I also was an Olympic class wrestler in college. So both when I wrestled and when I played baseball, I tracked everything. Every at-bat. What did I hit? How many foul? I wrote it all in a notebook. How many foul balls? If I got a hit, what was the hit? And was it left center? Did I hit in the outfield? Did I hit through the hole? How did I get that hit? Okay, when I wrestled, same thing. I was left-handed, and I wrestled left-handed, which is not good. So was it a right-handed guy or a left-handed guy? You could figure that out. Did they attack me from the right, from the left? Were they an upper body wrestler, which means they try to wrestle you kind of like you see in the fake wrestling? Or did they go and shoot at your legs? Did they shoot to your left? They shoot to your right? What was the counter move? Did it work or not? I tracked it all. So it's metrics, metrics, metrics. I don't care what it is. Whether it's a press release, whether if we won an award, if it's social media, if it's an ad campaign, doesn't matter. Metrics, metrics, metrics. How many people are visiting our booth show? No offense, Jay, not very much, because this is basically an OEM show. So the value to us, and I don't know about these other guys, but any that's end user, is schmoozing the analysts and press that show up and being on the panels that help you create content. But you're not going to see the CIO of Bank of America at this place, or the CISO of Wells Fargo. They just don't come to the show. It's an OEM show. So I have to have metrics, and if I don't like the metrics, then I don't come. So whether it's a show, PR, it doesn't matter what it is. You can do metrics on anything. And if you can't afford the expensive software like the guys with high market valuations, I should say, then you frickin' use a spreadsheet. It's called Excel, and it works. Okay? It may not be as sophisticated, but you can track everything. I did it in a frickin' notebook, and I was an all-star baseball. I can show you the trophies, and an all-star wrestler. I can show you the medals. But I tracked it. I didn't get there because I was a natural athlete. I tracked it because I used my frickin' head.
All right, so we're going to wait for you to go get the trophies. We'll just sit here quietly until you come back. Yes, I heard there's questions from the audience.
Can I just say one thing before you ask your question?
Were you a baseball player too?
No, I was a basketball player, but I'm not going to brag about it. So,
Okay.
I actually think the metrics, yes, I think everyone agrees, right? But I think the reason why, I'm going to say this because in case my CEO watches this later, and I call him frugal, I think it's important to keep metrics, not only to see if it was a good ROI, but the better you're able to demonstrate the ability to calculate metrics, I think you get trust to go try new things that probably weren't necessarily obvious, right? And repetitive or commonplace. That's one thing where again, this is for my CEO, that is one thing that's really good, is that he encourages us to try new things. But as long as you're able to prove whether it was good, he won't continue to spend in the same way, right? So the better you can actually capture and demonstrate those metrics, I think if you have strong leadership, they'll let you try new things more aggressively as well.
Perfect. Beth.
So this is a reality, I think, of our industry, and I don't know if it's really a question, but maybe you guys can comment on it. I mean, our sales cycle is 12 months or longer. So how do you justify, the ROI, because you're not necessarily getting a new customer in the same year that you're going to a trade show. It might take 1-2 years to get that prospect that you met to actually come to closure. So
That's all about funnel progression, deal progression. You can track deal progression. They came to a trade show, they stopped by our booth at FMS, then they downloaded a white paper, then they went to one of our webinars or seminars, then they called up 2 of our channel partners and asked, can we get information, can you do a demo? And you can track all that if you have the right sales team that uses salesforce.com, let alone any of the tools like Skynet. So without using Skynet, you can do it with SFDC or their competitors, and that's how you track, because It is a long sales cycle, and anyone who's a smaller company, not the two big guys here, where, even their high-end products can be 6 months, but for all the other guys that we have to prove ourselves against, the Godzillas and King Kongs that are in the room, it takes you 12 to 18 months to close, unless it's an existing account. So, but you can track all that by understanding how your funnel works and track your actions against that funnel.
Jyoti.
Yeah, so I would say define what success looks like early, right? Otherwise, you're just playing catch up, and it's never good enough. The goalposts keep moving, right? Define success at every stage of the funnel very early. And if you have multiple segments you're going after, whether it's large enterprise, mid-market, SMB, success might look different because the sales cycles will be different. One could be at 6 months, the other one, in the large enterprise could be 18 months, right? So identify at each stage what your success metric through the funnel looks like and track to that as your success. Otherwise, the whole team will feel down because at the end of the day, you land the airplane only when you get revenue, right? As CMO, I could talk about all the millions of leads that come through and the top of the funnel is great, but you only land the airplane if the revenue is coming through from all that work, right? And if the revenue doesn't come in within the first 12 months, you're not a failure if you track success across all of those stages. So define it well and track it at that level.
So I want to jump into that, and you have to not answer right away, but you can answer eventually. On metrics, what I see a lot of times is people will engage at multiple levels, pretty high up in the funnel, right? And there's a lot of times where you don't even know they're always, it's hard to know always that they're engaging. How do you track? Okay, if it was just one thing and that thing led immediately to a sale, that's an easy metric to track, right? But if it, and you kind of said it, right? They went to a webinar, we saw them at a trade show, they downloaded a couple of white papers, and my fear is always it's the last thing they did that gets all the credit, and we always forget about the first thing and all the things in between. What do you guys do to track all that stuff, or is it just gut instinct sometimes? Wait. John.
I mean, this is like, like multi-touch attribution, right? It's a big problem, right? If you, we struggled this early on as well. If you have someone that visits the website or comes by the booth, and then it wasn't until 9 months later they follow up, but they start getting in touch. At what point? I think one way you can solve that is just putting some time boundaries around when you think that expires, right? That initial touch or that touch point expires. There's not a really good answer. If you look inside of our Salesforce today, we still have attribution that's officially tied to one channel, right?
And it doesn't really do a good job of giving you layers within that. Somebody should need to write a new Salesforce. Everybody in with me?
There you go. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of data there, but yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, I think that's a broader discussion. Everyone gets to come to agreement on how you're going to do attribution there. There's no one size fits all there.
Anybody else have any comments other than Eric?
Yeah, I think you need to really reflect in terms of your marketing mix. What is brand versus lead gen versus demand gen?
Okay.
What we've discussed so far is efficiency in terms of tracking a traditional pipeline, as if people stay on one line. I got a lead, I went to a trade show, they took a webinar, I scored up and everything else. It's a long time to actually go prospect in terms of the deal. So when you start looking at different vehicles, there are companies like GDS, Richmond Events, and so forth, roundtable events for salespeople, for biz dev people to meet directly with C-levels, CIOs, 150 CIOs in a meeting for 45 grand, beautiful. I don't need to nurture those buggers. I got the people right in front of me. My goal is then to get to a next meeting. Now I'm in the sales pipeline. Marketing, not needed. But again, marketing needs to generate that air cover, generate that awareness, generate that consideration, maybe generate that preference. And if you look at TechTarget and any of those, they'll tell you customers already done their research before they even go to your website.
Yeah.
So again, you can go through that maturation, do it, have efficiency measure it, but don't get into analysis paralysis. If you want my advice, don't do major trade shows. Do regional events with key audiences. And to Eric's point about doing ABM, ABS around use cases and workloads, go to the compliance show. Go to the financial services event. Go select your audience very particularly so you are doing true account-based or rather use case-based and industry-based marketing versus general pray and spray or spray and pray or whatever.
You got to go. You have the next 25 minutes.
Just turn the volume down a little.
So first of all, marketing doesn't run sales. So I was the VP of channel sales with a $2 billion quota at IBM Storage. And I've also been a CRO 4 times in a startup. Never missed my number. At the same time, I was a CMO. So here's the deal. Marketing does certain things, but then sales has to take the ball and run with it. Okay? You do certain things to get ready. The guy hikes it to the quarterback. If it's a running play, you hand it off. The blockers need to block, which might be the SEs and the SAs with the sales guy. And if you're throwing the pass, he's got to catch it. Even if you throw it right in their hands, if they drop it, that isn't the quarterback's fault. So sometimes marketing people try to take too much on in biz to biz. Now it's B2C. If I'm selling Diet Pepsi or Diet Mountain Dew, my favorite 2 drinks, that's a different deal. Or Cheetos or Fritos, that's a different deal. But when you're in B2B, marketing does so much stuff, and its job is to help sales sell, but eventually sales has to take that ball, they got to catch the pass, they got to score the touchdown. You threw the pass, they caught it, so you've got to make sure you balance that out and don't think marketing is supposed to solve everyone's problem. And anybody who lets their CEO blame them is not a good CMO.
There you go. Any other questions from the audience? Go, sir.
Thank you for having me. I've got a question. So you said, AI is just a tool, right? In order to make company competitive, differentiated, productive, creative, you have to have a data, like you mentioned, right? And actually, it has to be industry specific, or company specific, or even a culture specific for your companies, right? So now, data plays a big role. But in order to best utilize data in this generative AI era, you have to completely change how you manage the data itself. What I mean by is get the semantic meaning in the data, right? So in this sense, in this context, I think vector DB or vector rec is completely change your geography or even a business model. My question is, what is your take on a vector DB and how does it influence your business model?
Who wants to take that?
It's an easy one for us because we agree, and we actually built our own vector database as a result, right? So vector database from a product perspective is critically important for storing embeddings and the like, for similarity search, et cetera. When we think about AI, that's what I was alluding to earlier about it changing the entire industry from a data and storage perspective, because it's not a monolithic application anymore. There's a lot of things happening. AI is not a monolithic application, whether it's a robot or not. There's a lot of other moving pieces. So I don't know if you had that question specifically in the context of marketing or not, but generally speaking.
Yeah, right. So more specifically, how does it boost your sales of your storage business, vector DB opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, it is just an evolution and extension of our product, right? So we have. This is why we've gone through multiple rebrandings, actually, of our product. It's not just, we started off almost 10 years ago. Our product was branded Universal Storage. Is the notion of building a single, large, scalable, all-flash storage system. But we changed our name 3 years ago to call ourselves a data platform. Probably one of the first companies to call a data platform that came from storage. And the reason for that was because we started to introduce things like our own database technology, right? And it since has evolved even more. We're now adding compute to front end some of that as well.
Anybody else have some thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to answer that. So, absolutely, vector databases make a very huge impact in the way people want to get context to the data. But unlike them, they're building their own vector DB. One of the things that we are using is open table formats, so that they are very portable in terms of moving it from, say, VAS to DDN to any of the other storage vendors, because at the end of the day, customers don't want to get locked in. So you've got to plan with the customer in terms of the data strategy and how they want to impact the data and take advantage of the data as and when the data is ingested. Doing batch processing for petabytes of data is unrealistic. So that's why we are focused mostly on how to create data outcomes as opposed to building a storage platform itself.
Yeah, I'll just add real quickly, since it's a technology conversation. I guess I get a little excited sometimes. But look, vector DB is one of the pieces of the puzzle. right? Essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to convert data into information, right? And the reason AI struggles sometimes is it has to read a large swath of multimodal data at all times and convert that to information, which could be a small little nugget that you actually need that's useful. So for example, at DDN, we focus a lot with our Infinia product on the metadata layer and metadata tagging, right? So we are like, okay, you don't need to move large swaths of data every time you need to do something. We're just gonna focus on the metadata layer, and that gives you context and converts data into information in real time. And that should be the focus. So in a sense, even for marketing or otherwise, we drink our own champagne by building on top of that foundation, right? So as soon as the data comes in, how quickly can we convert that to information that's actually actionable and useful? And metadata is the way to do it.
And by the way, John, action item, you and I were drinking Kool-Aid. Apparently, guys at DDN were drinking champagne. Didn't even get the memo.
Of course.
Yeah.
Hey, we have French founders.
That's right.
We drink champagne.
I actually knew that. I was going to make that reference. You beat me to it. Anybody else have any? I thought you did, Floyd.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been said already, but the problem with AI, particularly in the enterprise, it's not a storage problem, it's a data problem. And it's got to be a data strategy. That data exists, and it exists across multiple silos, multiple locations, often multiple clouds. And so how do you take a holistic view of that data when you've got it scattered all over the place? And so, it's already been said by others, and we all have a little bit different approaches to this. But at the metadata layer, where you can create a unified data plane to view across all of it. Now, whatever you're putting on the top, whether it's vector database, whether you're doing MCP type of hooks, whether you're doing whatever you're doing, if you don't have universal access to that data without moving it, then you're already behind the 8 ball. And the ROI in the enterprise in particular, maybe not in the top 100, but certainly from 100 to 1,000, the ROI gets sucked into more infrastructure when you really should be, if you're focused on the data itself, you should be able to leverage what you already have and then incrementally expand that to solve whichever data problem, whichever AI use case you're trying to fix.
Gary, I think you have a comment.
Yeah, I think your question was about how are companies in the marketing department looking at their own data to be competitive, if I was correct. And I think I agree with you in terms of the amount of data silos and fragmentation. I think if I quote from a company that went out of business, I won't mention their name, but 60% of data is dark. People don't know what they have. In most companies, anywhere from 20 to 40% of their data is redundant, obsolete, or trivial. Something that George used to write about for me a few years back. That's the real challenge. And as I said, garbage in, garbage out. So actually we partner with Hammerspace. And Hammerspace also, beyond their parallel file servers, have tools that do discovery and classification across different boundaries, across different applications, across different databases, across different data types. And I disagree, it's about metadata. It's beyond metadata. It's the payload or blob. You have to know all of the data. But that brings a new challenge. I got to index it. Now the index is getting big. How do I manage the index? So again, as you start solving problems, you also create new challenges. But first order of business, you've got to have a really cool, kick-ass chief data officer in the organization and look at it in terms of how that data is empowering the business, from marketing to sales and others. I love the examples that VAS gives and HP gives in terms of the automation, but that's what we're trying to do as marketeers. Automate with quality and have results. Watch out for analysis paralysis, because at the end of the day, we're like, yeah, good stuff. Now what? It's got to be action. Yeah.
Eric, I don't want you to feel left out. Do you have any? Okay. All right. Last question, and this is totally for me, actually.
Got a question.
Oh, well, okay. Then we'll go. Can we do my question after that then?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead. Because my question's really important.
I'd like to thank this distinguished panel for focusing on data. You've done an absolutely excellent job. I haven't been able to be here for the entire presentation, but I'm wondering if you've given any thought of the threat of quantum computers and data poisoning. And if you'd like a solution to it, you might want to drop by booth 945, and I'll be happy to hear you. Come on, you knew it.
I did not. I didn't see it. I got it.
He's in first place now.
All right, last question. So, and the reason I'm asking it is because you guys can save me some money, because it's driving me insane. So I was on a, have you guys heard of Gartner? Yeah, okay, just checking. So I was on the phone with this guy, and he says to me, and I'm kind of I'm biased here, I'll admit that. He tells me that in 2 years, content marketing will be dead. So my question is, that's a two-part question. First question is, do you agree? And B, and probably the most important part, if you agree, what do you think it is? Because I asked him that, and it was going to cost me $25,000 to get the report. And so if you know the answer, you could save me $25,000, and I'll buy you a beer.
Hey, see me afterwards, I'll look it up.
Eric.
So it'll cost you a beer at a Monte Cristo White Label Churchill, as you know.
You probably, do you have stats on how long those take to go?
Actually, I have some, yes. I can tell you exactly how long they last.
Okay, all right.
The key thing is there's no such freaking thing as content marketing. Okay, it's a made-up concept by some marketing professor. Content marketing is basically another subcategory of product marketing. That's all it is. And if you want to get nifty with it, it's about, okay, we have this content, where do we put it? Should it go here or there? And it's all AFU. It's just another part of product marketing. It's part of that function. So I don't believe in content marketing. I hate when people use that thing. And I don't let anyone call themselves a content marketer who works for me, or I fire their ass.
Okay, so I'm not going to be working for Infinidat then, Floyd?
Maybe I wouldn't say it exactly in the same way, but...
So you want me to come to work for you is what you're saying?
No, but I generally agree. I mean, you can't isolate that any more than you can isolate data into silos. It's part of a journey, whether it's a customer journey, and it is fundamentally product marketing. So these are assets. Whether it's a blog, whether it's a white paper, whether it's a tweet, whether it's social media, whatever it is, this has to be a part of an integrated campaign that, again, you can track, you can get metrics against, and that ultimately leads to funnel creation and ultimately conversion.
Okay, but you're saying that blogs, white papers, things like that aren't going away in 2 years?
They're not going away.
Okay.
People still need
That's
to
all I
consume
care about.
content.
That's it. So
I'll give you a couple of things. Watch out for when there is a content marketing team and you don't have control of it. Aha! It's the aha syndrome. We used to call that at HP. Aha! Your content sucks. There's no views on it. There's no downloads, or there's a very few. Did you promote it? Could you find it on the website? That's right. You know, is the website optimized to be able to search this? Or is it stuck in a proprietary format I can't access? They're the questions coming back. So I agree with Eric, when you get into content marketing groups where maybe there's a separate Marcom or corporate marketing team and they start working these metrics, there's yin and yang on this. I think at the end of the day, when someone says, okay, I've got to pay $55,000 for a Magic Quadrant reprint, is it worth it? Does it perform? And again, is it influencing? Is it inspiring? Is it informing? You know, these are kind of things. But measuring content just on its own, you've got to look at. I agree with you. It's a journey.
Jersey?
Yeah, real quick. I think it's in fashion to call something dead. Marketing is dead will be the next thing they will say. And so
That's actually the topic of next year's panel.
Next year's,
so,
yeah, right. So I think we just have to look at it very practically. The way we deliver content changes. Call it whatever you want. Podcast is all the rage these days, and 3 years from now, that won't be the thing. It'll be something new. It's a delivery mechanism, right? What matters is, did you get your story or messaging at the 101, 201, 301 level right? And then there's 100 different delivery mechanisms you can deliver that messaging with. So you can call it what you want, but focus on getting your core messaging and narrative world class, and then the delivery mechanisms change every 3-4 years. Just adjust.
Yeah, so content is not going to go away, but the marketing aspect of a particular asset, I'm not quite sure whether that's going to live on forever. Because today we use things like ChatGPT to summarize many of the content that's available to give you the necessary information that you require at that particular time.
Mm-hmm.
So content is going to be critical, just like data is. But the aspect of marketing, or like putting throwing together a paper of some sort and sending it out to people to read, I think that aspect will take a step back.
I was going to say the same thing. My history is actually in product management, product marketing, and it is just product marketing, core messaging. And I was going to say the same thing, which is like, I think the delivery vehicles will be changing very soon, right? Like no one here is talking about, like, we went through this phase with the internet. It was all about SEO optimizations for your website. Now it's about ChatGPT optimizations, right?
I can tell you most of that.
Yeah, so I think messaging is foundational. That's how you describe your company, your product, your value prop. That's not going to go away. But that delivery vehicle, maybe that job title eventually disappears. I don't know, but there's going to be other needs that emerge and other delivery vehicles that pop up as well.
Perfect. Well, guys, thanks for your time and everything today. Let's give them a round of applause. And make sure to be over next year's panel on the breadth of marketing. By the way, Josie, you won with the breadth of marketing.